Resuming debate, the honourable member for Elmwood Transcona.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'm pleased to rise today to speak to a bill that us in the NDP think is long overdue. Of course, one of my colleagues from Hamilton presented a similar bill in the last Parliament in order to finally give the pension obligations that workers have and the benefits that they expect to receive when they pay into a pension plan over the course of their working life, the due that they deserve. And it's one thing for members to talk about the kind of hypothetical situations about what this may mean for bank lending practices, what this may mean for creditors of various kinds. What's not hypothetical is that right now, when a company does go bankrupt, the pensions that workers have paid into their entire working lives are not given the respect and the priority that are due. What's not hypothetical is that real working people are losing out on the retirements that they paid into and that they saved for through a company pension. And that's wrong. What's not hypothetical is that right now, when there is a bankruptcy proceeding, that very real investment on the part of the worker isn't given the same due as the investment made by international hedge funds who expect to get their money back. And I think, frankly, that we can work out the details and that the market will adjust to a new framework. And we hear in other instances, an incredible faith on the part of conservatives and liberals alike in the power of the market to adjust to new circumstances. Our argument is that there's a moral imperative here to ensure that people who have their entire future and their entire retirement wrapped up in the future of a company and its plan ought to be able to get what they're owed. And of course, in some cases, they may not be able to get everything that they're owed because there's simply not enough money there. But they shouldn't be last in the pecking order. They shouldn't be waiting for the scraps off the table of international investors. They should be given their due alongside those investors and alongside those lenders in order to ensure that the lives of these individuals aren't ruined. We understand very well that, lending institutions have to assess risk when they offer loans, and that has to be worked into a business plan. But our current practice says that when businesses are making those business plans and when lenders are assessing that risk, that they can literally bank on being able to take away the pension contributions of workers. And there's something fundamentally wrong with the idea, whether it's a company or whether it's a lender or whether it's an investor, to know at the outset that they can take it to the bank, that the workers who currently work at the company are paying in good faith to that pension plan will get screwed in the event of a bankruptcy so that those investors or lenders can get paid out and that workers aren't going to have an equal say at the table. That's what they're allowed to do right now. That's something that's wrong. It's not a hypothetical situation. It's a real injustice that's taking place right now. And the role of government, if nothing else, is to set a fair framework and a fair set of rules for the economy to work under. And then it's up to players within the market to adapt to those rules. And so we, on the side of the NDP, think it's of fundamental importance that we recognize the status of workers and their retirement funds and ensure that it has to be part of the business plan of a business and part of the business plan of their lenders and their investors, that they pay out workers their due. And it's frustrating to have to keep talking about this, particularly in light of election commitment by the party, the Liberal Party that's running the government right now. And they keep talking about how they respect workers and they think this is very important and they're going to get onto it, and they never really get around to it. And yet we see proposal after proposal being brought forward by private members in order to fix this fundamental unfairness. The sooner we fix it, the sooner the markets can adjust to the new reality. But that's an adjustment that needs to come, because workers need to know that they can pay into a pension plan and have it be there for them, and that they're not going to always be playing second fiddle to investors and to others, just as was the case for, the example of Sears was raised earlier. It's not hypothetical that the Sears pensioners lost a massive amount of their pension. And it's true. They lost it at the point of bankruptcy, and that a whole bunch of that money went to Sears creditors. And they lost it before too, in terms of, investors coming in and stripping the business of all its cash and not making the payments that they ought to make into their pension fund. So there is absolutely a larger issue around pensions. And there are other issues and injustices in respect of how the system is set up that prejudices itself against workers and their pensions that ought to be addressed. But that is not an excuse not to move forward with a perfectly good proposal that, yes, will change the situation. It will. And actors within the market will have to adjust to that. That's the point. The point is that the situation needs to change, because right now there's a serious wrong being done by workers who deserve an equal seat at the table. Just as, when Nortel went into bankruptcy and over half of the pension earnings there were lost to workers. And so these are the kinds of things that we need to do. If we want to talk about the larger issue of pension reform, absolutely. I mean, I think, employers should be making their regular contributions to their pension funds. We see often that employers are allowed to take vacations on contributions to their pension funds when things are going well. But of course, the plan for the pension fund is that contributions are made in poor years and in good years, and that the contributions made in the good years help put enough capital in the fund that the fund can ride out the bad years. So when they're allowed to take vacations on that, we see the accumulation sometimes of really extraordinary pension fund deficits. And then other arguments are trotted out about how, the pension fund's not sustainable, and it would take, so we'd have to contribute a totally unrealistic amount into the pension fund in order to keep it going. Well, yeah, that's because in good years, instead of continuing to contribute to the fund, they're in some cases allowed not to contribute anything at all. So that's certainly a problem. We also know that, when the Canada Pension Plan was established, which many, conservative members in the House, refer to as a simple payroll tax, which I think is a serious deception in terms of what it is, because it's something that employees pay into and their employers pay into it as part of their wage package in order to provide some further retirement security once their working years are done. And when it was set up, it was meant to be that the CPP would be a third of a person's pension income. Their company pension would provide the other third, and their personal savings would provide the final third. Well, we're talking about how to better protect company pensions for those who are fortunate enough to still have them. Because the fact of the matter is that many companies have been divesting themselves of pension risk altogether and not providing real pension plans, certainly not defined pension plans, but something like 7 in 10 workers in Canada today don't have pensions at all. And we haven't seen the Canada Pension Plan really pick up the slack in the way that it needs to in order to make sure that everybody can be contributing towards a defined benefit that can provide the cornerstone for their retirement income. And even now, when we see proposals from the government to raise the old age security amount, they're doing it in a way that, again, is unhelpful by creating two classes of seniors rather than offering the same increase to all seniors 65 years and up. They're deciding to offer it only to seniors age 75 and up, when we know that the very same income and cost pressures are there for seniors regardless of whether they happen to be 75 or older or 65 or older. And so, this piece of legislation is very important. I think it's important from a moral point of view. I think it's important from the point of view of the economic advantages of protecting the incomes of seniors in our community who spend that money in our local communities. But absolutely, yes, let's make it part of a larger package of reform to better protect and strengthen the pensions of Canadians from coast to coast to coast. Thank you very much.